Everybody, how are you all doing? This is Tunji Olu Jimmy, and I've got a wonderful guest with me, Tarnya Coley, and we are going to be talking to you about how to write and publish your book, the book publishing process, the book publishing process. So, Tanya, how are you doing?
I'm well. All the better for being on here with you, Tunji.
I definitely hear that. I definitely hear that. It's been a busy one actually. You've been very busy doing what you do. So keep up the great work. So yeah, just introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Yeah, let people know.
Thank you. Yes, it has been a busy one. I always say August is the time to, reflect, relax. I'm trying to. So I am based in Manchester. I'm an author. I have several books on Amazon. You can go and check them out. Just put in my name, Tarnya Coley. I'm also an international speaker, and I am also a coach and publisher. And that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, and what got you into writing and publishing a book and then helping others to write and publish their books?
Well, that's a really great question. After being a lecturer for 15 years, I was compelled to give up my job, my career, and become an entrepreneur. And I was like, there's no chance. But when you have to follow the prompting of the Holy Spirit, you're like, okay, He will lead and direct. When He gives you a vision, He will fulfill that for you. So I wrote my first book, Open Doors, in 2018. And it took me 6 weeks to write it because I think it was in me and it was ready to be birthed. And then, a couple of months later, it became a bestseller on Amazon. And then I set up my publishing company, got trained to be a publisher, set up my company. My first publisher of Open Door said to me, Tanya, you're here to encourage others, just like yourself, to write your story so they can make a greater impact and be an influence in other people's lives. And I
Mm.
shied away from it for a very long time because I didn't believe that. I thought, no, that's not me. I'm all right being a coach, being a speaker, and all that. I'm all right with that. But publishing other people's books, but God was showing me that this is the direction I've given you to help others. That you're going to give them those stepping stones on how they can share their story and be a guide and a help to others. So that's how I got into it.
Wow, that's good stuff. Like myself, I a friend of mine had published a book in around I think 2008, and I was like, oh, maybe I can do that. But I kept thinking, oh, you got dyslexia, you're bad with
Mm,
English and grammar and everything like that, and I just had to push myself to get my first book done. And then I published my first book in 2011. And I was like, yes, I actually did it. But I still had that at the back of my mind. I think that's why most people don't actually get started with their book because they
mm,
believe that they don't have what it takes. Because you've probably been told you're useless, you're this, oh, you got bad grades in school and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of just puts a limitation and a lid on you, and you'd never ever want to go, not even just with books, just with life, with, success, with business. You never want to go forward because of what someone probably has said to you. And that's what kind of held me back. But I had to, kind of fight that and just go over the line to get my book done. And it's been amazing since. And being able to help other people like you
mm.
do is just fantastic. Being able to help people write and publish their own books, even being dyslexic, and doing that just shows that the God we serve is amazing. So we're talking about the book publishing process. The book publishing process. So guys, if you're on, do say hello, say hi, let's know where you're from. The book publishing process, what is that to you? So you need to write your book first before you publish it. So what is the whole process about writing and publishing a book?
Wow, that's another great question because many people, I was just talking to someone before we jumped on this live, and for years she has this book, and guess where it is, Tunji? In her head.
Yes.
Many people's books are up here, but we can't edit blank pages, so we need to get it from here onto paper. And like you said before, there was many objections. I'm dyslexic. I'm not good at writing. No one's going to read my story. And those are the objections that will always come. But we have to tell ourselves that we are authors, we are teachers, and basically we're just teaching people what we want them to know, how to overcome, how to get through, how to break free. So it's about having that courage and that step just to say, you know what, I'm going to commit today that I'm going to share my story, and writing it down. And then that process of making sure that you are committed, the next 90 days or less, I'm committed to writing my book. It doesn't matter, I don't know about sentencing and all of that, because you've got Grammarly. Come on, there's no excuse. So all you need to do is get it onto paper, get your thoughts down. What is it that you want to write about? And the great question is to ask yourself is, why do I want to share it now? Why now? What's the message? And start writing. And then when you've written it, I always say this is the best way for me, is then you can reorganize things where you want it to fit and take things out that you don't think is necessary. And then once you've written that, I always say do a self-edit, which is so important, to go through your own work. It's your story. You know how it goes. And you, like I said, you can use Grammarly. That's a great app to use. So you can use that. And like you always said, Tarnya, you don't need to actually type it out. There's a dictation button on your laptop, or you can have a speech to text app, which makes the process a lot quicker. And then self-editing it, going through it using Grammarly, just to check through things before you send it over to a professional editor. Do you agree that I believe that you should always get your book professionally edited?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's take it step by step, because we're kind of jumping the gun. So the first part you spoke about is why. Let's deal with that. Why? What's important about why? Is it, why does someone need to write a book, or is it someone finding out their why for writing a book? Is it those two things you're talking about?
Yeah, I always say, because why do you want to write it? Because sometimes I've had clients that are coming from a place of revenge, coming from a place of hurt and pain. And when you write that kind of book, it's not going to sell.
Wow.
I personally don't think it will sell, because it's coming from a place of hurting and you're hurting other people. But you have to reflect and think about, okay, if I'm still hurting and broken, you've got to be able to work through those things, because your book isn't going to read as well. Because remember, your book, there's a message behind what you're sharing. It's not just, for me, my story was, Mom had me in the 70s, she was 16 and all of that. Those things were horrific. However, that's not the message that I'm sharing. The message is how we overcame. So you have to think about your message through what you want to share. Yes, things were hurtful. There was pain, there was disappointment, rejection, and all of that. And I understand that, because I've come from a place of that. But what's the message behind that you want to share? And so I think that's really important, is for you to think about, what's the message? What is your message that you want to bring? Because when you're thinking about that when you're writing it, it will come through in your writing.
Okay. So they need to find out what their message is and attach it to a why. Okay. That's great. But why should someone actually write a book? What does a book do? Why is it important for someone to actually have a book written for themselves? If they're probably in business, if they're in ministry, they're a coach, consultant, entrepreneur, why should they write a book?
There's so many reasons to write a book. One, you're leaving a legacy. And that's an amazing thing to do, is to leave a legacy behind. And also, it's, if you, like you said, you're doing a business, it's a great help for your business, your credibility. I think that is very important, is knowing who you are and being established and having a book to accompany that. And you always talk about building a business around your book, which is important. So you have to think about that. So those are some of the reasons as to why writing a book. Also, it's a guide. It's a blueprint for other people to follow. Because if you want to write a book, let's get Tarnya's book, How to Write a Book Fast. He's giving you the steps, he's giving you the guide on how to do that. So a lot of people's books are there to help you, to encourage you, to support you. And that's what we want to do, is to help people along their journey. Doesn't matter what sphere they're in, it's just to help them through.
Wow. Wow, that's good. To help people along their journey, to be a guide, to give them a guide. And if they're in business or they're a coach or whatever, then it's a tool for visibility and credibility.
Mm.
Okay, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. So, guys, hope you're listening. So, why do you want to write a book? You need to find out your why, but also you need to understand why you need to write a book, which ties in with, giving you credibility or sharing your particular message. So, how does someone get started with this idea of actually writing a book? And I love, your process, nice, simple, three-step process that you talk about. Guys, if you haven't got a book, you need to go get a book. Okay, you need to go get the book, plan it, see it, anticipate it. You need to go get that book. And she uses this process for even writing a book. So can you just explain how someone can use this three-step process to get started with their book idea?
Yes. So, like the three-step process, plan it, see it, anticipate it. So, I believe it's really important to plan in anything in life. And it sounds simple, but oftentimes we don't actually plan. We
Yeah.
just go charging in, and then we wonder why we're overwhelmed, why we get stuck, why we've been writing this book for years, or why it's still up here. Because we're not planning it. So, we have to plan the book. What is it that we want to write? Like we said before, what's our why? Why do we want to write? What is our message? And then writing these things down on paper. Write the vision down and make it plain. So that's very important to do that. And then see it. You've got to visualize where you're going. You've got to have this picture in your mind. And that's going to help you to inspire you and motivate you to keep on moving forward, to keep on doing it. You've challenged yourself for the next 90 days or less to write this thing. So you've got to anticipate it. You've got to set out a routine. You can't just like wake up and go, oh, what should I do today? You've got to be intentional. So that's why Pastor Tunji's got so many books written, because he's intentional with what he's doing with his time and his activities. So you've got to carve out the time to do it. And then minimizing all the distractions, putting aside a lot of things, sacrificing, and then getting it done, and then anticipating it, knowing that it's going to happen. And when you're anticipating something, you don't just sit and wait for it to happen. You actually work towards it. You're having those action steps to actually make this thing come to pass. And then it's attaching the emotions to when you get that. How's that going to feel when you're holding it? How's it going to feel for you after all these years wanting to do it? And then now you've actually got the steps and now you've done it. And those are just three simple steps to get your book done.
Wow. Wow. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So plan it, see it, anticipate it. Whether I teach people how to do the same, and I have a six-step process, which is plan, prepare, pen, promote, publish, and profit. But within the plan, you know, the one reason why most people probably don't get their book done is because they start writing first. They start writing first without a plan. But like you said, you've got to actually plan out the book. What is it exactly you want to do? What type of book do you actually want to write? So within the plan process, I say the 5 W's. Find out why you actually want to write this book in the first place, why you want to become an author, and find out, okay, what exactly is this book about? Is it going to be a fiction or non-fiction book? And if it's a non-fiction book, then what type of genre in non-fiction is it going to be? Because some people just feel, oh, I just want to share my story, which is fine. But what is it about your story that you're actually trying to share? What is it about that? So what do you want that story to do for the reader? And then that's where another W comes in, that who is your book for? Finding out exactly who is the person that's going to buy this book. Because if you don't know any of these things and you just write it and you put it out there, it's going to be a bit of a hit and miss, right? Because you're not sure who's actually supposed to get this book, because you've probably not even written to that particular individual. And then I say, okay, when is the book coming out? Plan it. When exactly do you want to launch this book? So you're working with a timeline, and then like your see it part, I say where do you want this book to go? What do you visualize, with this particular book? And that's the thing, we need to first plan then see it, then anticipate it. There's no point saying you're going to write a book, you plan it, but if you don't see it, you don't anticipate it, then nothing else is going to happen. Most people have actually planned their book, but they've not done nothing with it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been writing a book for 3 years, for 5 years. But that's because there's nothing that's been done after they've probably planned it. So what are the steps people can take to actually anticipate and see the results of this particular book coming to manifestation or reality?
Well, I like what you said about the deadline, because deadlines are so important. We have to work to deadlines, because if we don't have a deadline, we'll be doing it till kingdom come. Like you said, we've been writing this book for 5 years, for 10 years, been writing this book for 20 years. You're like, what? How? Why so long? Because there's no deadline. And then you can work towards that deadline. And in anticipation, you know it's going to happen. You know it's going to take place because you planned it, you saw it, you've taken the steps towards it, you've done the action, you've written it. And now you're anticipating that it's going to take place. This means it's going to happen. Believe and succeed. Your mindset is going to tell you all sorts of things. But I always say, tell that, commit it in your mind to shut up and sit down, because it is going to happen. And you have to have that mindset of believing and succeeding. And many people will tell you different things. They will always try and put a roadblock in your vision to stop you, because sometimes some people will speak to you from where they're at. Okay. But the thing is, if you've got this vision and you've anticipating it will take place, because you've planned it, you've worked towards it, and now it will happen. And it's the language, it's the way that we speak, because there's life and death in the power of the tongue. So it's how we speak to ourselves, how we speak about our vision, and how are we handling the vision, which is so important. And it's being around like-minded people that are going to be in that space to cheer you on as you cheer others on as well.
Wow. So having the right people around you can help you get your book done. Wow. Okay. All right. That's so. Is that part of building a launch team for your book?
Yeah, that can be part of the process. You always get those people, I hate to use this word, but raving fans. You do have raving fans that will support you and just say, if you ask them, can you help me in this? A lot of my clients, I always say to them, can you help me in this? Or I've got another client that's doing this. Can you help us? And they're always saying yes, because when it comes to their turn, they know it's going to happen for them too. So it's not just waiting for your turn to happen. It's about helping others. So you can have a launch team to help you get it out there, and having different people around you supporting you. What is it that you need? How can I help? And even turning up on the day of the launch, on the day of launching the book launch, whatever it is, and they're asking you to help you, build your team, because on your own it's a lot harder and a lot more stressful, and it can become overwhelming, and then you can stop and think, oh, this is too difficult. But when you have a supportive team around you to support you and just delegate, the process is a lot easier. Because my client has a book launch tomorrow, and she was like, Tarnya, I'm so overwhelmed. And I said, okay, who have you got to support you? Who is around you? Who can help, etc., etc. And that type of process is also about planning it, seeing it, anticipating it. And then that way, the process is a lot easier.
Wow. So true. So much easier when you have people that are there with you in the process. So are you in like a coach as well? Someone like yourself, myself, that can help you um, during that process, and a group of people that will help you launch the book with a bang. If you want to become a bestseller, then you need a launch team that can help you launch that book with a bang. So you spoke about writing the book and speaking. So just to put more bone in that, can you explain how long does someone need to take to do that? Do they take what, a full month? Do they spend 5 hours a day writing or speaking, and then they get their book done in 6 months? How long does it take?
Well, you know me, Todgy, I'm quite a tough taskmaster. And I don't hold any prisoners, I'm telling you. If you're with me, I'm telling you, it's going to be tough. So I'm like, right, you can carve out 20 minutes. I'm sure you can find 20 minutes of your time. And I don't care if you're working full time, you know, you 24 hours, I don't care what it is, you can do it, because I've done it. I was working full time as a lecturer. I was working part time for the church. I've got a family, all sorts of things. And I still wrote my book in 6 weeks. Why? Because I carved out the time. I woke up early before the children. When they go to bed, I'd still be up. I sacrificed my time for a season. And I'm telling people, encouraging them that you can do the same. So can you get up earlier? Yes, you can. Set that alarm. You can get up earlier and you can write. You can come home and you can write. It's about scheduling it and doing it. So if you can find 20 minutes of your day, including weekends, because writing does not take a weekend off. If it means a lot to you, you will do it, and for a season. And then we've been taught in our coaching about the power of the 90. If you can't do 20 minutes and you can have chunks of time, do 90 minutes. Scheduling at that time, I get up at 4 o'clock, spend 90 minutes on my business and carving out that time uninterrupted. I'm unavailable, you can't get me. And that's how you can get things done in 90 days or less, is by having the discipline. Because oftentimes we find ourselves here, it's in our head, we're writing for 5 years because of the lack of discipline. But if we get focused, get structured and be determined and have that drive to say, I'm going to do this no matter what. Before 2021 is up, I'm going to write my book. And that's why we have this why, because if it's strong enough, it's going to propel you and move you forward to write your book.
Yeah, awesome. Tough taskmaster. All right. It's similar. I say 1 hour a day. If you spend 1 hour a day on your book, you definitely can get it done quickly. But it's about carving out that time. Oh, I don't have no time. Of course you do. You need to just create the time for what you love. If it's something you want to do, you're going to create the time for it. You know, you create the time for it. So, because we're going to be finishing up in a bit. So now, publishing. What is publishing a book? What is the publishing process of a book?
The publishing process, I think, is really important as well, because you've spent a while on this book. Sometimes some of it's been years. Okay, you finally got it done. Do not rush this process. It's so important. Many people, they've written it. When's it going to be done? Is it going to be done like in 4 weeks? No, it's not, because there's a process. Okay, so you've got it done. Now, don't rush this part. So find yourself a publisher. I would suggest somebody that does everything, as opposed to going here for the editor, going there for the public. I find it easier process to find someone that does everything. Okay, that's just me. But if you've got the time and want to find different people doing different things, that's okay. It's how you work. But then finding somebody who's able to publish a book to a professional standard, having professional editors, professional formatter, professional cover designer. It's great. Someone's came to me and says, oh, Tarnya, I've done my cover in Canva. And I looked at it and just smiled.
In Canva.
That's a great start. And that's something, an example you can give to the cover designer. Okay, so yes, you can design them in Canva, but you have to make sure the dimensions are correct. Maybe some people do use Canva for their covers, but it's also about having the dimensions for Amazon. Everything's got to be correct. That's why I just say, go and use a professional designer, because when you upload the cover yourself, that's when you get stuck, because the dimensions aren't right and Amazon's going to keep rejecting it until you get it right. So I just say, go and hire a professional. So at every stage, hire a professional that knows what just outsource it. Just outsource that thing, and they will do it quicker and at a professional standard. So those are the things you need to look out for. And the things to ask yourself as well is about the ISBN. People think, ISBN, I'll just get a free one on Amazon. Well, I suggest, I don't know about you, Tunji, but I don't think having a free one on Amazon is quite it.
No.
So, you know, purchasing ISBNs, knowing about your royalties, all those things are important to know, because a lot of people have been caught at that and then been tied into things that they can't get out of because they didn't ask the relevant questions.
Yeah, so true. When it comes to publishing, you need to find out, okay, do I want to traditionally publish or do I want to self-publish? So if you want to go with a traditional publisher, you need to know what it takes to go with a traditional publisher. If you don't have the backbone social media wise, they're probably not going to go with you, because if you are not going to help them sell the books, then there's no point. Because if
Mm.
they give you an advance of 100K, they will know they're going to make that money back with book sales. So traditional publishing, yes, it's fine, it's great, but you don't really need to start with it. You can start with self-publishing your own book, but you can use a publisher, a self-publisher, or you can do it yourself if you want as well, which is the case with some people. Or you can use a coach like us, and we can coach you to doing that process, getting it done properly. So why shouldn't someone use Canva or Fiverr, to get these stuff done? Why what what's the cost involved? Are we talking like thousands, or just some people want to do it for free? Some people just want to spend £100, to get their book done.
Yeah, it's a good question. It all depends on your budget. For me, I've used Canva for one of my book covers, but but I was using a professional as well to help me through the process. So it's who you know as well and how to do it. So it's really important. If you're going to do your cover yourself, you have to know the process of Amazon, the dimensions, how it's going to work. Some people don't have all that money to go and pay out for people, which I understand. But it's making sure that you research the processes. And like you said before, ask us for some tips and we can point you in the right direction, because there's nothing worse than having your book out and then it's not to a standard that you expected. And remember, it's your name attached to the book. So it all depends on your budget. You can spend hundreds on a book or you can spend thousands, but it's up to you. And I would prefer to use, depending on what you want to use, Upwork is a great platform to find people to do your book. But remember, don't just choose the first person. Research that person. What have they done before? Look at their star ratings. Look at the things that they have produced. Don't just choose out that they've only done one thing and they got 2 star. You got to make sure you research properly, which is really important.
Very, very true. So if you want to self-publish yourself, there's Upwork. It depends on what you want to do. So Upwork you can definitely use for editing, formatting, even book cover design as well.
Yeah.
A great place for book cover designs could be 99 Designs, or Design Crowd is another place you can use. But yeah, there are different websites like those. That even Reasley is another one where you can do everything on there. It's just for books, editing, proofreading, ghostwriters, everything on there. So go out, research. But like we said, you can talk to us if you want to get your book done. Let's help you get that book done. So finishing this off, what publishing platforms are available for people to use, even if they use a coach like us or a self-publisher? What platforms are available out there?
Can you repeat the question because you're freezing?
Oh, sorry. What publishing platforms are out there for people to use to actually get this process done once the book is, completed, the cover is done, and everything like that? What platforms are out there? So, of course, there's Amazon, is the big marketplace in the world. So you can get your book on Amazon, but there's a platform you need in order to get your book on Amazon. So, what platforms are available?
Yeah, like I said, there's Amazon, which is great for credibility, but also there's Ingram Spark, there's Lulu, there's Drafted Digital. But be careful when you're going on these sites, because there's these little tick boxes. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They have these little tick boxes, and if you're not up on these things and you tick the wrong things, and you're already on Amazon, and then you can't go on Ingram Sparks because you've ticked a certain box on Amazon, because you said, I'm only want Amazon to publish this thing. And then you want to put it on Ingram Sparks, but actually you can't now because you ticked a box somewhere else. This is why it's great to have coaches like ourselves to help you through the process so you don't get stuck. So there are other platforms that you can have it on. Believe it or not, Tarnya, guess what happened to me? My latest book, Plan It, See It, Anticipate It, Drafted Digital rejected it because they said it was a workbook.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't believe it. I said, it's only got a few worksheets in there. They weren't having it. They said no.
Wow. Wow, wow, okay. So that's the thing you need to know, because you can get rejected from some of these platforms if the formatting's not right,
Yeah.
the cover size is not right, and all those things. So you do need to know. You know, I just tell people this. For me, the simplest one to use is KDP, Amazon's platform. Nice, simple, no headache. Just get someone to really do it properly for you with all your size and formatting, and it's simple because Ingram Spark, you need to know a few things in order to use it. The same with Lulu as well. They're a little bit more complicated.
Mm.
KDP is very, very simple to use. And it's Amazon's platform. Amazon's the biggest company. So just use them. Why not? You know? So yeah, that's it for me. But yeah, this has been good. I hope you guys have actually learned something today. I know most of you are not people are not commenting, but hey, it's all good. But we enjoyed ourselves. Any last thing you want to say before we go?
Yes, get your book done. Get it out of your head onto paper, and we're challenging you from today. Get it done, and then by the end of October, it will be completed. And just listen to the replay and look at how you can get your book published, or get in touch with myself or Pastor Tunji, who will gladly help you through the process to get your book published, so you can become a published author in 2022.
Awesome, awesome. So plan it, see it, anticipate it. If you don't plan your book, nothing's gonna happen. If you don't see it, nothing's gonna happen. If you don't
Hmm.
anticipate it, it's not coming into your hand. So there's something I tell my clients is, I am an author. I can see it in my mind. I can hold it in my hands, and my book can become a reality. When you say
Hmm.
that, it's part of planning it, seeing it, and anticipating it,
Yeah.
so that you believe it and you know. Because if you don't believe it, nothing's going to happen.
Hmm.
Nothing is going to happen. You need to believe it first, that you are an author. You need to believe that you have what it takes to get the book done. Then you need to go and do what you need to do. My wife did a video this morning about taking action. Don't just talk. Most people just talk and no action. And it's about taking that step to get it done. Take action, guys. So thank you all for coming on. Hey, Glenn, thank you very much. And Daniel, thank you very, very much. I'm happy that you enjoyed this session and you learned something from this. So, Tanya, thank you very much for coming on. God bless you.
Thank you for having me.
Alrighty, guys. See you all later. Remember, keep smiling, keep shining, because you've been designed and destined for more than where you are right now, because you have what it takes to make it. God bless you all, and bye for now.